Welcome to the Chase Down Podcast, part of the Cavs media family. I'm your host, Justin Rowan. The Chase Down is presented by Fubo, the official streaming partner of the Cavs. Watch over 350 channels of live sports and TV, including FanDuel Sports Network without cable. There's no cost and no commitment. Try for free at FuboTV.com/Cavs. Breathe easy, Cavs fans. You get to exhale, even if it's just for a day or two, as the Cleveland Cavaliers are advancing to the next round against the Detroit Pistons with a dominant second half to end the Toronto Raptors season. Joining me today is my co-host, Carter Rodriguez. Carter, how you doing, buddy?
Brother, Jarrett Allen took over. An absolute masterclass performance from Jarrett. Nearly put up a 20-20 in a Game 7 at home. Throw out your lights are too bright jokes. Throw out your soft comments. This dude just ended the Toronto Raptors season, and he didn't do it mostly by out-jumping them or using or thriving in space. He fought in the freaking trenches, got every contested rebound, blocked every shot in sight, and then started getting his game off as a finisher, drawing fouls. He drew 14 free throw attempts in this game. I've said it a billion times, Justin, there's no player on this team I root for more than Jarrett. And what a reward he gave us in the Jarrett Allen hive in this game today.
It was Fro-onto. I can't say that well. It looks better in writing, but it absolutely was a fantastic performance from Jarrett Allen. 14 points and 10 rebounds in the third quarter alone. And that was crucial because Evan Mobley got in foul trouble about 7 minutes into the third quarter. Bit of a questionable call on RJ Barrett. I think there was a few of those throughout the evening. But that was a really important kind of pivotal moment in this game because to that point, I think Evan Mobley had actually been the best player on the Cavs. I thought he had the best first half for the team. He was off to a good start in the second half, and they really needed someone to step up in that spot. And Jarrett Allen delivered in a massive way. And like you said, it wasn't necessarily just, hey, kind of finding soft spots in the defense, the dunker spot. Toronto's falling asleep. He was out there outworking Jakob He was going through guys. That play in the fourth quarter where long rebound and he beat Scotty Barnes to half court and was chasing down that ball, never fully got possession, but he kept that inside lane and forced Scotty to draw his or to be called for his fifth foul on the night. That is the level of effort and intensity that we need from this team if they want to, achieve their ultimate goals this season. But what I love about this game from Jarrett and what I love about this game overall from the team is we saw, Harden spoon feeding Jarrett and him being really productive in that stretch in the regular season. This game was a prime example of what we have been talking about this entire series, which is with the types of ball pressure that the Toronto Raptors were showing, if Donovan Mitchell and James Harden are getting off the ball in a timely manner and allowing the secondary creators to create, all of a sudden you're going to see Max Strus, Jalen Tyson, Sam Merrill, Evan Mobley, all these secondary playmakers start to flourish, right? Like you're going to get the defense into rotation. James Harden had 3 assists. Donovan Mitchell had 1 assist. And yet this was one of the best big man usage games of the season because they were out there finding these secondary playmakers. They were getting into the teeth of the defense. And for really the first time since game 2, we got the Raptors defense consistently in rotation in that second half.
Yeah, you have to give a lot of credit to Sam, Max, and Jalen specifically. They're cutting off ball. We talk a lot about cutting as a means to, generate a score or even to open up space. But the cuts to the soft spots of the Raptors defense in the middle of the floor, like that felt like the key to this whole thing was get the ball to the middle of the floor on time, on target, and let the supplementary playmakers attack. And that's exactly what they did. Max was phenomenal in that space. Jalen, phenomenal. Sam, phenomenal. And what happened was, in a lot of cases, it actually opened up play is for the two guards to be play finishers instead of initiators. Like, I think about that play where Jalen is able to get into the teeth of the defense and they're top blocking Harden, so Harden's just able to cut straight to the basket for an easy floater. Like, that was maybe the easiest shot he's had all series. And the role players were just phenomenal right off the rip. I thought, Toronto took a 12-point lead in this game, and there were some scary moments, but I did feel like the Cavs, even when things weren't going so well to start, I kind of wrote in our Discord, I was like, I feel like the Cavs are winning the style battle right now. And I haven't felt that way really since game 3 started. Like, even in the game the Cavs won, I don't think the Cavs won the style battle. And in this one, I think they did.
Yeah. Remember after game 4 when I said, hey, this could feel a lot like the Magic series where you win a close game 5 at home and then game 7, you pull away in the end, even though you go down in game 7. It basically mirrored that in a lot of ways. And I agree with you. I thought the Cavs actually came out with the level of intensity that they needed to start this game. The problem was the decision-making wasn't there, right? Like, I thought they were playing as hard as they should be playing to start a game 7, but it looked like they were a little bit rushed.
They were overhyped, I would say.
With their decision-making on the offensive end, their decision-making on the defensive end, helping where they don't need to help, right? Like, all of that stuff was just a little bit off. And it wasn't because they were approaching the game in a lackadaisical way. They just seemed a little overhyped. But I agree with you. I thought overall the process was really good. And I really do hope that one of kind of the enduring lessons of this series is knowing to, hey, get off the ball, cut, play with movement, play with tempo. It's fine if you want to use a lot of the shot clock to generate your offense, but actually use a lot of the shot clock. You're wasting a lot of the shot clock if you shoot too early or if you just dribble and you initiate too late, right? You are not making use of the time that has been allotted to you. And I think this was a prime example of the Cavs actually do have guys that can create, secondary offense that can attack, that can make Donovan Mitchell and James Harden's lives easier. Just because we know that they are going to need to be kind of the best offensive players, and this is always going to be a guard-centric offensive approach from this team, doesn't mean they have to do everything themselves. I said on the last podcast, Avalanches have never occurred by one guy going up and taking step back jumpers. It is always when this team is playing energized on the defensive end, when the ball is humming and playing with momentum, everyone's getting touches and everyone's feeding off of that energy. That's when this team is at its best. And that stretch in the third quarter and the fourth quarter when just everyone was flying around, that is some of the most joyful basketball I have seen this team play in a long time.
Yeah, and confident. I just felt like so much in the series after those first 2 games, it felt like the Raptors had just knocked the Cavs off their center of gravity, but stretched that across everything that was happening. All the passes were coming a beat late, and then on the catch, the Cavs player would get crunched. And by the way, that still happened in this game. They still were getting hit, pulled, pushed, grabbed, but the Cavs attacked with such decisiveness. And some of those entry passes to Jarrett or to some of the interior passing, they took the high-risk passes, but they made them on time and on target, and the big squeezed the orange in a way that made it okay. And I think that's kind of something that was really bothering me as the series got more and more guard heavy for the Cavs. Is like, guys, if they're sealing, you got to make the pass. If someone gives you an angle, you got to make the pass, because if you don't make that pass, you are basically signing off that strategy is going to take you out of what it is you do. And I think about the Strus Allen fast break, where it was kind of a give and go and go and go. Like, they kind of kept, hot potatoing the ball back to each other until they could get a clean finishing angle. And I just think that kind of those passes were being made from a position of, let's get something better. Let's get something better. Not, okay, they've made me pick up my dribble, and now I'm going to have to find a release valve. Like, it was playmaking from a position of strength and confidence, and that is the Cavs at their best.
What have we said a million times? You need to be the one dictating the pace. You need to be the one dictating the style of play. And when it comes to offensive performance, you need to be dictating where the ball is going, right? You're not reading what the defense is giving you and saying, okay, like, they're funneling it this way, so let's send it to them, and they take the shot or whatever the case may be. You go out there and you get to the spots you want to get to. And on the subject of the passing, this was some of the best playmaking that I thought from Jalen Tyson. I know he only had 4 assists, and he's had more in his career. He was contributing on the glass. Love to see the contributions from him overall, but he's made some really, really intelligent passes at really, really important times. And frankly, that second quarter stretch where Max and Jalen came in
changed the game.
That completely changed the game, right? And for Toronto to, frankly, I thought Toronto outplayed the Cavs in the first half, but for them to go into halftime tied up had to be demoralizing. And I thought Max Strus and Jalen Tyson, from an energy and intensity level standpoint, just completely elevated the game in that second quarter stretch. And the first pass where Jalen found James for the open 3, I thought that was a prime example of that connective playmaking from the wing that we have said that the Cavs need, because he passed up a good look from the mid-range where he could have drove it in, maybe drew some contact or whatever the case may be, but he swung it to James for the wide open 3 and he knocked it down. Tyson hits the 3. I think it was on the next possession after that. Like, he was all over the place. And Max Strus drawing charges over that stretch, playing with intensity. Like, those guys brought it.
And they 17 rebounds for Strus and Tyson in this game for a team that just has not been able to consistently, own the glass. The Cavs had 60 rebounds in this game to Toronto's 33.
They killed Toronto on the glass the last couple games, right? Where, there were times where the intensity wasn't where it needed to be, or aspects of the game. I certainly think when it comes to offensive initiation, that's where I think we felt kind of the most lag or malaise at times in this series. But game 5 on, I thought the Cavs were absolutely menaces on the glass. Like, they were really beating Toronto up physically. They weren't allowed to apply physicality on the defensive end, because any touch, like, Shed Gilgeous-Alexander is getting to the free throw line anytime you breathe on that guy. And Toronto's able to push off with their off arms. I'm not going to miss any of their elbows in this series. But I thought they applied their physicality in the areas where they were allowed to apply their physicality. And as much as I'm complaining here, some of it's tongue in cheek. I do think you need to give a lot of credit to the Toronto Raptors too for playing as hard as they did in this series, for pushing the Cavs as far as they did shorthanded. That's a very, very good team. I think Scotty Barnes has opened up a lot of eyes. He played fantastic basketball. Their role guys played really well. Like, tip of the cap, man. Like, this whole first round in the NBA, and particularly in the Eastern Conference, these bottom teams pushed the top teams much harder than anyone would have expected. And
Toronto, the Boston Celtics were pushed out of the playoffs.
And Toronto was the 5 seed. You could argue that they were the best because they were ranked the highest out of those bottom seeds. But, like, they really stepped up. They made the Cavs earn it. And what I really hope is that what they learned from this series sticks. What they learned in terms of how hard they need to play can kind of translate to some of these other series. Because as much as you can say, okay, Toronto pushed them to this extent, and now they're going to play better teams in the subsequent rounds, which I think is true, I do think Toronto was bringing out a lot of the worst habits from the Cavs. And if they play with the effort and intensity, they're not going to suffer as much as they had in this series.
I think that's all very fair. And ideally, I said it going in, and I'll say it again. Like, the further the Cavs get into the playoffs, the better I will feel about them, because it means they've solved problems and made the adjustments they need to make and gotten more comfortable and built trust with each other to the point where they're going to be able to, help each other out through these kind of sketchy moments. So no, I don't think this series should have gone 7. Toronto was very limited.
Agreed.
From a personnel perspective, and they could do much better. But like at the end of the day, getting through it is all that really matters.
Yeah, and you could probably also point out that if you look at a couple of the last 2-minute reports, it could have ended in 5. It could have ended in 6 as well. So but that's true of almost every playoff series, right? Like the margins are really thin, and a couple decisions here and there can change the outcome, right? Like the Cavs very easily could have lost this series as well, right? Even going back to Game 5. So that's stuff that you have to figure out, right? Like you have to take the problem solving that you learned in this series and not start from square one as you're going into round 2, right? Like when you find something that works, you got to stick with it. Just like we stick with Zoom Workplace, because teams move fastest when everyone's in sync. Zoom Workplace keeps meetings, chats, documents, and more together, so your workflow is like a perfect play. Keep work moving and zoom ahead with Zoom Workplace. On the subject of problem solving and things that we hope carries forward, Evan Mobley, I think all of this series would have been for worth it. All the stress, all the gray hairs, all the lost hairs that I probably have as a result of this playoff series, I think it's all worth it if this is the Evan Mobley we get the rest of the way in the playoffs, because while nobody had a perfect series and everybody had bad games, and Evan certainly had 2 of them in Toronto.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go.
I think Evan Mobley was the overall best player for the Cavs in this series. And I loved what I saw at the start of the game, where he made 2 bad mistakes. One was way too excited and threw the pass off the backboard to Jarrett Allen. And the other one was standing out of bounds when Harden found him in the corner. Did that cause Evan Mobley to shrink? No, it did not. He confidently hit a jump shot right away. He had a couple nice assists. He was going through guys' chests when he had the opportunity. I love the way he was fighting on the glass. Didn't think he got the best whistle in the world, and the foul trouble helped kind of suppress some of his stats. But I thought overall the playmaking was strong from him. I thought the aggression was strong from him. And what he's bringing on the defensive end of the floor as well.
The inverted pick and rolls were really, really nice. I thought his attacks, especially when he had Pirtle on him, were really, really good. I'll save my Donovan Mitchell as a screener thoughts for when we talk about the guards, because we do need to talk about them. They didn't have great games, and I do want to discuss, what to take away from that. But the inverts were really, really good. I thought they did a really nice job of breaking Toronto's press by having Evan be the one to take the ball up, because what it led to happening was either Pirtle had to pick him up full court, which was just kind of instant panic and put 2 on the ball at half court mode for Toronto, or they would have to switch out to pick him up in transition to stop him from just getting ahead of steam and just running past Pirtle, which then allowed the Cavs to get Pirtle on Max Strus and other advantageous spots also away from the hoop, which is really the only place he can hurt you defensively. So I thought he was really, really good in this game in the minutes he was able to play. It's really funny. I went into this game being like, man, I think Wade, Allen, and Mobley all have to play more than 30 if they're going to win this game. And Wade plays 21. Mobley only gets 27 because of the foul trouble. Allen does cross 30, I think, for the first time in the series with his 33 minutes.
Second time.
Second time? Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought Mobley was really good. I thought his attacks were really strong. The handle held up to Toronto ball pressure, which you have to appreciate. I thought he rebounded really, really well. In general, I just want to again shout out the rebounding from this Cavs team, writ large. I know you're talking about Mobley, but man, just everyone squeezed the orange really, really well. Toronto only had 7 offensive rebounds in this game. And there were a lot of contested rebounds that I think, Toronto was swiping at, trying to, jog loose, and the Cavs just kept coming up with the ball with 2 hands, running back style to their chest to stop Toronto from being able to generate any extra possessions. And with them missing the personnel they're missing, they just can't win if they're not getting those kind of free points or free extra bites at the apple.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This was 3 straight games where the Cavs did what they needed to do from an effort level standpoint to, not only level the playing field when it came to offensive rebounds and rebounding in general, but to actually make that a strength. And I that's really one of my takeaways, which is I don't think the Cavs necessarily have great defensive personnel, particularly when it comes to the perimeter. I don't think they have great rebounding personnel. But if they play with this level of intensity, it doesn't matter. Like if you go back to that series against the Indiana Pacers, it's not that Indiana had a bunch of elite defenders. Everyone just played connected and they played hard every single possession. Nembhard, elite defensively. Pascal Siakam, great defensive player. Miles Turner, not a very good defensive player. Ben Mathurin, not a very good defensive player. Tyrese Halliburton, very bad defensive player, right? But as a collective, they were more than the sum of their parts. And I thought for stretches in this series, when the Cavs are actually locked in and they are playing high intensity on the glass, when they're playing high intensity on the defensive end, they are actually more than the sum of their parts. And I think that is what we need to see moving forward. Before we get off Evan Mobley, one thing I did want to mention, some of the best screen setting I have seen from him in this series.
I noticed that too.
He is finally setting some really, really good screens, and that is a super encouraging thing. But what you were talking about with, the inverted pick and rolls and having Evan bring up the ball and stuff like that, I think that's going to be super important against Detroit, because I think you're going to want to run a lot of that same stuff at Jalen Duren, right? That's a matchup where both Evan Mobley have had and Jarrett Allen have had a lot of success. I think you're going to need to replicate a lot of what went well versus the Raptors versus Detroit, because I think stylistically there's a lot of similarities between these two teams.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. And you're going to be in another dogfight.
Yes.
With a very, very tough, very, very physical team. By the way, I just did want to shout out Brandon Ifa in the chat. Just mentioned that they shut down Murray Boyles tonight and finally figured out his shot angles for blocks. I did notice that. They finally were like, oh, he's coming at it at a lower angle than we were expecting. And I just want to shout out, these are the kinds of things that tape gives you familiarity on and allows you to challenge a guy that maybe you weren't as comfortable with going in.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good observation, right? And I think you saw that kind of ebb and flow both sides in the series, right? I thought Toronto started to figure out the rhythm a little bit of defending James Harden after the first couple games. They weren't falling for some of those same kind of pet tricks. Although I do think that Harden, I think the last couple of games, I'm pretty okay with what he was bringing to the table. And honestly, I think James did his part in this series overall. Not the most efficient night, just 3 of 9 from the floor, but 11 of 13 from the free throw line, 18 points on 9 shots. You'll live with that efficiency, right? And I thought he was active on the defensive end. He got those 3 steals. He was active on the glass.
Had a better game switching on to Scotty too.
Yeah, he had a better game switching on to Scotty. I honestly think that James did his part for this series. And I thought he did a better job of getting off the ball as well, right? Whether it's allowing, initially just Mobley to create and rolling with the punches that way, or finding Max Strus, finding Jalen Tyson, finding Sam Merrill or Evan Mobley in the half court when that pressure is there. And when he's doing that and he's getting off the ball and he's allowing other guys to get going, all of a sudden Harden becomes a little less predictable, right? When it swings to him later in the shot clock, you see some mental mistakes, right? I think it was AJ. Actually, no, it was Jacoby Walter. Jacoby Walter, who is
about as
James
bad
Harden.
of a hand in the cookie jar mistake as you'll see.
James Harden's going to bait you there in that situation if you're hovering over him, right? If you have your hand out, he's going to put his arms through your arm. Jacoby Walter's literally grabbing his forearm. He has his hand on his arm, and Harden's like, I guess I'm going to go up with it if you're going to do this. You're going to see more mental mistakes because it's getting the defenders out of the rhythm. Whereas if you're walking the ball up the court and you're initiating with 7 seconds on the shot clock, I know what Harden's go-tos are going to be in this spot. I thought the Cavs became less predictable just by diversifying who they were going to offensively.
Yeah, they were just a little like, I think at its best, the Harden offense has this metronomic quality. It's just click, 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 and he just kind of wears you down that way. But over the course of a series, I think we have seen that teams kind of do get accustomed to it and start preparing for it and leaning into it. So the fact that they were able to attack in such a diverse way, and to your point, James just got off the ball better. Like he found, and the Cavs role players helped by flashing into open space with hands up, and then rewarded both Donovan and James with great decisions over and over and over again, that it just makes it easier to play off ball. And I mean, really, in a lot of ways, it's kind of a decoy game for James. He's not being asked to do a lot of individual shot creation, but I think he was good enough in this series. Like if they had lost this series, there was a lot of eyeballs on a guy like James, who has a bit of a spotty Game 7 record, to say the very least. But like even if the game had gone the other way, I wasn't really looking at James as a reason. I don't think he was the main reason they won either, but I think he did his job. I think that's a good way to put it. I do want to move to Donovan real quick, because I do want to talk about the Pistons series a little bit, since we're not going to get to do a proper preview since it's in 2 days. But you had your hand up. You wanted to say something.
The one thing I'll say is, when the Darius trade went down, what did we say? We said bringing James in is at least giving you someone that's reliably going to run the offense. He's going to reliably play the point guard position and keep Donovan in a shooting guard role for a playoff series. It's going to allow us to evaluate this team without, one, the point guard's health, and not having a point guard being variables. James did his job, so we were properly able to evaluate every other aspect of this team, right? Like the theory came in practice here when it came to James Harden. And I certainly think he's capable of playing better. I think he's capable of playing worse too, right? Like there were definitely some lows in this series. But of the two guards, I didn't think he was the worst defensively. I thought he was fine a lot of the time. Off ball, still an adventure, right? Like too many times leaving Jacoby Walter or RJ Barrett for wide open threes.
Closeouts,
right?
Much better in this game, by the way.
Much. I was going to mention, I actually thought that this was probably...
Both he and Don closed out way harder and made the shots more of a challenge, I thought.
The effort level was where it needed to be on that end. I still think you're going to have those off-ball lapses, right? Like certain guys you help off of by design, and then certain times, like if you're helping off, or it's not even helping off, it's falling asleep and allowing guys like Jacoby Walter or RJ Barrett to get those open spot ups. That's not by design. But I just wanted to circle back to that, because I did think that it was an important point and something that I felt like we would be discussing if this series went the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Don. He goes 22 points, 9 of 20 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, only 1 assist to 2 turnovers, a +8 overall. I think this was just a really bad, no good series for Don. I don't think he really ever got comfortable after Toronto started making the adjustments. However, I do want to give him flowers on one thing. The screen setting for the bigs on the inverted pick and rolls was really, really strong. He got wide. A lot of times you'll see guards set these screens, especially when a big's rumbling towards them and they kind of turn their hips at the last second and it's more of an in the way than an actual screen. I thought he really screened Pirtle and made the Raptors defense make choices and gave Evan something a clearer runway to attack. I think Evan's last dunk in the fourth quarter was because of one of those screens from Donovan, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And
you're right.
And I think that's kind of those are the kind of plays I really want to see from Donovan if his scoring isn't going nuts, is like finding other ways to help, whether it is getting off the ball early. I'll be interested to see Obviously, only had the one assist. I'd be interested to see how many hockey assists he had today, because I also thought
I felt like there was a decent amount both from Harden and James, right? Like that's a product of finding these guys that can create on the side.
Yeah. So I think that like he got off the ball. He had a few moments, to start the third quarter, where he got really, really hot. And was this his series? No, but like the difference between how I felt after like games 3 or 4, when things were going really, really rough for him, is like, all right, where are you going to make up for the fact that the scoring isn't coming for you? At efficiency. Is it as a playmaker? Is it as a rebounder? Is it as a defender? Because in that game 6 loss, there's that play where Scotty just kind of hurled him off to the side and got an easy layup on a switch, and like those are the kind of possessions that kill you. So I thought it was a nice answer from Donovan, and it's almost nicer that like in a game where he still did not score efficiently, 22 points on 20 shots is by every metric not a strong Donovan Mitchell game. Yeah. He got into the teeth of the defense. He got downhill. He did dirty work plays like setting screens. I thought his switching was much better. A couple really nice possessions on RJ Barrett, who finally had an awful game.
Yeah.
23 points on 25 shots.
We always say playoff series are a small sample and you're not guaranteed to get regression within one. We got it at a very, very timely time for RJ Barrett, who was no longer Klay Thompson.
Yes. So at the end of the day, I did want to just give Don a little credit for finding some ways to help in a series where it just didn't feel like rhythm was going to come super easy to him. But, that's the playoffs, just figuring out how to help.
Yeah, and what did we talk about going into the playoffs, right? Is that we hope that there was going to be enough help both with James Harden and other guys stepping up that even if Don isn't playing well or he's struggling or whatever the case may be, you get him to the point where he can close. And frankly, like I thought his energy level coming out of the half was exactly where it needed to be. I thought his shot selection improved after halftime. He had that assist to Evan Mobley, hit some timely buckets. Like he really elevated the Cavs and gave them a scoring punch when they needed to coming out of halftime, which I thought was really important. But I'm glad that you highlighted the screen setting and the little things he was doing. I agree. I thought his closeouts were better. Right, like this probably was the worst playoff series that he had since the Knicks series, where he had that good game 1 and then just was not as present as we would have expected for the rest of that series. But I think it's good to get through this, right? Like I think this is one of those moments that can build some confidence that, hey, other guys did do enough. Everyone stepped up in the ways they needed to. The Cavs finally have been running offense through the big men and using them appropriately and getting downhill. If they continue to do that, I do think that that's the best version of this team, right? Like we don't need Donovan Mitchell to be Superman. I think we have seen that if Donovan Mitchell or James Harden or both of them are trying to be isolation stars and put the team on the back themselves, that's not going to be enough. It wasn't enough when Harden was an MVP caliber player. It hasn't been enough with Donovan Mitchell as a first team all NBA caliber player. We need to win as a collective. We win as a collective, we lose as a collective. Or sometimes we lose playing as individuals is probably more accurate. But I truly do think that this team, to accomplish what it wants to accomplish this season, needs to do it as a collective force. This isn't a LeBron 2018 type run. That's not the makeup of this team. That is not how we are going to be the best version of ourselves.
Oh yeah, brother. Let's move real quick. I don't want to go too much longer because we've already gone around 40 minutes.
Have we really?
No, it's about 35. I forgot that you were late getting here. Let's talk a little bit about the Pistons series that's coming up. Starts Tuesday. Cavs do not have home court advantage in this series. It's kind of weird because the Cavs have had home court in most of their playoff series at this era. I think it's really just the Boston loss that we've seen them play a series without home court. Almost feels kind of nice, Justin, not to have all that pressure of winning game 1 on the road or at home.
it does feel nice. And obviously the Cavs have had a lot of success against Detroit the last couple of years. I mentioned before the bigs have in particular played really well in that series. I think that this is once again going to be one of those series that comes down to the possession battle. Detroit is actually meaningfully worse in the half court than the Toronto Raptors on the season. The Raptors are 10th in half court offense. Detroit is down to 16th, but they are better when it comes to points off of misses and putbacks. Detroit's the number 2 team in the league there. So I think you're going to need to take lessons from this Raptors series. You're going to see a lot of that same physicality. I do think one big difference between the two is the way Toronto generates offense in terms of, a 6'10" kind of point forward and Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett at 6'7" with a lot of strength, getting downhill. Detroit has fewer creators like that, right? Like it's basically Cade Cunningham, who's smaller than both of them. So I'm going to be interested to see who gets that assignment. I kind of anticipate it's going to be Dean Wade. I think that is the safe assumption there. But
I think it'll be Dean and Jalen taking turns.
I think it's going to be Dean and Jalen. I'm just curious because what RJ was able to do with Don and James put on him. Is there anyone on Detroit that's going to do similar things, right? Like, is it going to be the Dennis Jenkins series or whoever kind of steps up there? I'm going to be really, really curious to see if Detroit can generate offense from enough spots.
Yeah, because Detroit's secondary scorer is Tobias Harris, who is a kind of a mid-post demon, wants to back down, take turnarounds, kind of a very Ingram type of player, which I think the Cavs are pretty well equipped. I think Duren is a different animal. Duren had a very hard series against the Magic, but I think that's a very hard matchup for Jalen Duren, and I think the Magic did a better job taking Duren out of the series than I think the Cavs have the personnel to be able to do. That's my first blush reaction, is that the Cavs are a little too prone to overhelping in opening up those pocket passes. And unlike Jakob Poeltl, or at time, well, really, I wouldn't say unlike Colin Murray Boyles because he killed us, but Duren can, do a lot with a little bit of space. He's so big and so strong. I think he is probably, I think his ego is probably hurting a little bit after becoming, the butt of all the jokes in the first round. Welcome to being a young big man in the NBA playoffs, by the way. I will say this, if I can be permitted to soapbox a little bit.
Yeah, go for it. Cook.
It is funny to watch a guy as big and strong as Duren, who plays as nasty as Duren, kind of not be able to do anything with all that strength based on scheme. And it just goes to show you, for all the screaming and fist pounding we do with Mobley and Allen, who are not built like Jalen Duren, about being tough and being physical and all that stuff. Like, that's all there. Don't get me wrong. They have to do that stuff and do it well. But it just goes to show that sometimes it's not about body type, and scheme informs how physical you're able to be on the floor a lot more than we think. And context informs how physical you're able to be. Because it's hard to be physical when you can't hit a guy. It's hard to be physical when you're not able to catch the ball in your spots and go to where you're comfortable being. So, like, it's just a little bit more of a complicated matter than be bigger and stronger, even though basketball fans would like it to be that.
Yeah, they'd love to simplify that, but I do find it really interesting. I think Duren is the biggest difference. I think he's a fantastic player and more than capable of bouncing back from a poor first round series, just like I think Donovan Mitchell is more than capable of bouncing back from a poor first round series, right? Like, I actually do think from a perimeter defender standpoint, I think Toronto had more guys to throw at Don than Detroit did. It does in general. Like, I think
Detroit has to choose more often is the way I would frame it. They don't have a lot of like Jacoby Walters out there who
have been shooting 48% from three, like basically the last 4 months of the season while being a great defender, right? Like
the Raptors are going to throw Asar on him. They're going to throw Maybe Ron Holland, who hasn't gotten a ton of minutes. He's kind of fallen out of the rotation.
I don't think he's playing. Yeah.
It feels like JB's kind of had to stick with around 8 guys. It's been Beef Stew, Javante, and Danis coming off the bench. There's some variance in there. Karras will get a shift every now and again. Herter, I think, is hurt. He's a shooter for them. But it does feel like they kind of have to choose their specialists. They feel like a past version of the Cavs where it's like, our shooters are going to be out here or our defenders are going to be out there. But we don't have a lot of both. Doesn't mean that you can't get the volume up. Like, Jamal Shed killed the Cavs a bunch from threes at different points in this series. And there's nothing stopping Javante Green from hitting a bunch against us. I just wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. But there are a lot of similarities, right? Like containing the offensive glass and ending possessions, that's going to be important. Toronto was 3rd in terms of transition frequency offensively. Detroit's number 1. They're going to try to get out and run. But unlike Toronto very good in transition defense. They typically keep teams out of transition. Detroit allows a lot more. And I think that the Cavs are going to need to play with the same kind of style that they did against Toronto. Play with some tempo. Even if you want to use a lot of the clock, just make sure you're doing it with a purpose. Make sure that you are playing with tempo. Make sure everyone's getting involved. And from a rotation standpoint, Carter, I don't know if you feel the same way, but like I really, really feel strongly. Like I think Schroeder can play in the series. I think Kenny's obviously going to go a little deeper in the rotation. But Max and Jalen coming in off the bench, Sam Merrill as kind of the 8th, those are my guys I'm rolling with, man. And I think Max and Jalen should actually be a defined 6 and 7 in terms of, even a half tier of minutes in most instances, where I just think those guys need to be out there. I think that they add something to the mix. And I think from a rotation standpoint,
2 dudes Detroit would love to have, by the way.
Would love to have. And I'm perfectly fine with Dean doing what he's doing. Like the last couple games, I think he's taken shots when he's needed to take shots, but he's out there to play defense, to be a low usage guy. And we are going to run with the core 4 as kind of the primary usage guys, right? Like we're getting a lot of touches for the bigs. Harden and Mitchell are going to get a lot of touches. That 5th guy can kind of just be a ceremonial starter. Bring Max and Jalen. I want to see those guys as the first subs off the bench. And then if Sam gets going, of course you keep him out there and you continue to feed Sammy.
I do wonder, just given that Detroit also just played a grueling 7-game series and run a short 8-man rotation, or 8.5. It seems like JB will give that 9th guy a shot, and if it doesn't work, he'll pare it down. I do wonder if I'm Kenny, if I would maybe reset things a little bit and kind of go back to my game 1 rotations.
I was going to ask, do you think that this is maybe more of a Keon series?
And I just don't think I want to put Keon on and mothball him for the entire playoffs, because here's the thing about Detroit is they're such a strong side team. Like they are going to run a lot of high pick and roll and try to attack at, really test your point of attack defense. Let Cade be, a shot maker and a shot creator. Try to find Duren on the roll, and he's gonna need to spray out some passes to the weak side. And I think having a little thief in the form of Keon Ellis could be pretty valuable. I think there's more matchups for him in this series than there were against Toronto. Like Keon would be great on Dennis Jenkins defensively. Yep. And I think Dennis Jenkins is going to really matter for this Detroit team in this series. I think he's going to have to be
they need a shot maker. They absolutely need a shot maker.
So I think there's just a few more spots to put Keon where there's actually some value, some true non-shooters to let him go play Keon Ellis ball. So I would bring Keon back, at least in game 1 of the series, and just say, hey, we believe in you. That wasn't your matchup, but let's see what you can do here. That happens more often than you think, guys. I think that's a really important thing to call out, because a lot of the times we can get very binary with the playoffs. Like, useless, useful. Yeah. And it's like, it's just on a game-to-game or series-to-series basis, especially for role players. That's just how it works. So I would love to see Keon get some run out there, especially against some of these second units, and see if he can help unstick the game a little bit in transition. As you noted, Detroit not as good at keeping teams out of transition as Toronto was. So I think, even though there are certain parts of this matchup I like more for the Cavs, I think scoring is going to be really, really hard. So anyone who can get me a couple pick sixes is going to belong out there. So I would go with Keon. I did want to ask about Cade, because we did talk about who would get the primary. When we both kind of agree, it'll probably be Wade and Tyson. Both those guys did the best job on him in the regular season of anyone. Can't count Max because he didn't really get to. But I think those two are the best options guarding Cade, at least for what we have on tape. What about schematically? Do you switch? Do you hedge and recover and try to just fight through screens and make things hard? And I thought Dean did such a good job in this series of staying connected even when he was screened. Do you try to just kind of stay home and stay in your shell and trust that they're not going to make enough threes to keep up with you? What do you do?
I think I stay home. I think I play them pretty straight up. And some of this is just maybe scars of the miscommunication that we've seen from the Cavs defensively. Like I really want to kind of simplify things. Stay home. Don't overhelp. If they beat you straight up, like I trust Dean Wade and I trust Jalen Tyson to guard him one-on-one in a lot of these situations. So fight through some screens. Don't allow the soft switching. Don't allow them to get the matchups that they want. You have seen that offense get bogged down in the half court. Don't make anything easy for them in terms of giving them the look that they're fighting for, and just play it straight up. I don't think that they have enough shooting to contend with the Cavs.
And I think the Cavs have the right personnel to make life hard on Cade. I mean, I think they're going to do some guard switching. One thing to keep a real close eye on, I would say, in those starting lineup alignments, if Wade is on Cade, is I think Duncan is going to be setting a lot of screens for them, and for Cade, and trying to ask Donovan or James to either navigate the screen, which we know neither of those guys like doing that, or switching. And I think that is the road for Detroit to get to score well in the half court, is consistently forcing the Cavs into tough switches or putting two on the ball, and them dictating that two on the ball coming in the form of Duncan screening. Because, if you don't navigate those well, Duncan will absolutely slip, which is a great way to kill switches, by the way. He will absolutely slip into open space, and he is the one guy on the team that you have to be petrified if he's wide open from three. So that feels like button one for them to press offensively, outside of just, Jalen Duren pick and rolls.
And I think that's why I would start Donovan on Duncan. I trust him more than James when it comes to navigating screens. And you don't want Donovan to be running around that much on the defensive end. But at the same time, like I think that's the way to go about it. And you put Harden on Amen, and you just kind of roll from there. Asar, yeah, thank you. I'm definitely going to do that at least 3 more times in the series. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I think Asar is a little, his own version of dangerous off ball, just because he's a really gifted cutter, and he is, much like his brother, a 99.9th percentile athlete.
Yeah.
I think keeping him out, but like the nice thing about if you are able to stay in your shell is, even if Asar catches the ball in the soft in the short roll or in soft space, ideally you're still making him finish over or through Evan and Jarrett at the same time, and I think that is advantage Cavs. The Duncan screens are another matter entirely, and I think the Cavs are going to need, I hope that the Cavs coaching staff, like as we speak, are like, what's our answer for that? Because if we don't, because Cade is a big, strong playmaker who, much like we asked James to do tonight, can get off the ball so well when you put two on the ball. And like Detroit, if you get in rotation against Detroit, or giving the few shooters they have open looks, that's how they're going to get to 110, 115 points in a game. And I think if they're a team that if they get to 110, they're like, we're probably winning this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, I do think, and this is probably going to be a theme throughout, but I think keeping the bigs involved is going to be the most important thing. Because you look at it for the season, Carter, both Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen average 18 points per game on nearly a 70% true shooting percentage. Like, they had a lot of success against Detroit. And Jarrett did it in limited minutes too. It was just over 25 minutes per game versus Detroit, which is one of his lowest marks on the season, but one of his highest scoring outputs. Like, if you are putting pressure on Detroit, you're getting Jalen Duren in foul trouble, you're getting to the line. Like, I think that defense starts to bend and even potentially break. I think that the Cavs
they played well against Detroit in all their games this year. Detroit came in and stole a couple at the end. There's no way around it, and that does matter, because guess what matters the most in the playoffs is winning the games. As much as we can talk about style and that being an important predictor, Detroit did win the season series, and they did it by in many cases outplaying the Cavs down the stretch of these games and imposing their will. Was it 2-2? It might have been 2-2.
I was going to say, I think it was 2-2.
I think it was 2-2. But the point is, Detroit we're going to, like, Justin and I have talked about this matchup as though the Cavs dominated it. And in a lot of ways they did, but not in the most important way in win-loss. So I think this is a very, very tough series. And the Cavs are going to have their work cut out for them if they want
Prediction?
What?
Prediction?
Oh, I was about to ask you.
I'm going Cavs in 6. I think that they're going to need to close it out on their home court. Steal one of these first two, baby. That's all I'm asking for. And if you steal the first one, go get greedy and get the second. But I do think Detroit will win one of these games for sure. And it wouldn't shock me, given how the Cavs have played on the road. Really, throughout this kind of post-trade deadline stretch, it would not shock me to see Detroit go up 2-0. But I think that the Cavs can, and maybe even would pick that they'll take one on the road here.
I am going to go Cavs in 7. I think this is a really tough Detroit team. I think there's going to be parts of Detroit that's like, oh man, this is a lot easier now that we're out of this magic slog. Offensively, they're going to have an easier time scoring than they did against Orlando. And I do think they can present a lot of the same problems. I still think this is a better styles make fights series than even the Raptors series was for the Cavs. But again, I just kind of need the Cavs to show me, because I don't think this series I don't think this series against the Raptors should have gone 7, and it did. So I'm going to assume that until the Cavs show me they can put together 5 really strong games in a row. Because even if you put together 5 really strong games, you might lose 1 or 2 of them.
Absolutely. Great point. Yep.
They just haven't shown me that level of consistency yet, that for me to be comfortable in picking anything less. But I think a lot of smart people are going to pick Detroit to win this series. So I think this is as close as I haven't seen any odds come through yet, but I'll bet it's pretty close.
Absolutely. I think that the playoffs in general have shown that any team can lose to any team, right? And Detroit is the number 1 seed for a reason. This is going to be a really, really hard-fought series. And the Cavs, the story of the season is whether or not they can show consistency, right? Whether the attention to detail is at the standard that it needs to be at. I think Toronto is as good of a test run of Detroit as you could possibly have from a stylistic and problem-solving standpoint. So we'll see. Did they actually
The Pistons are slight favorites, by the way. On FanDuel, they are minus 122 to win the series. Cavs are plus 104. So the slightest. I think
that's fair.
FanDuel says basically this is a toss-up.
I think that's fair. And in a toss-up, you're going to give the odds to the team that has the home court advantage. So the Cavs are going to have to go take that home court advantage, right? You earn it over 82 games, but you can give it away in 1 or 2, right? So the Cavs are going to have to do that. We'll see if they are able to show the level of consistency and intensity that they need to win this series. Big thanks to everyone tuning in live on YouTube. We will continue to have post-game podcast for every game in this next series. So big thanks for everyone hanging out. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you know when we're going live. If you're listening via podcast and you want to support us, leave us a rating, leave a review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and help cook those books. If you want to be part of Chasedown's exclusive Discord chat, send a screenshot of the review to chasedownpod@gmail.com. However you choose to support us, we really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. Until next time, go Cavs.